What is good, guys? Welcome back to the Ben E Fit podcast, bringing you everything you need to know about living your best life. And this week's episode is going to give you some really quick, easy, simple, and very applicable meal prep solutions. Because in my opinion, one of the biggest struggles that people have is around food. And I think there's a number of reasons for that. A lot of it, I think, is because people are, I think there's a few reasons. I think one of the big factors is the misconception that you can eat whatever you like and get in the best shape of your life. This is something that I've spoken about extensively before. And I've also recently posted about it again on my Instagram. So do feel free to go and check that out. Essentially, like in very brief terms, it's the very eating whatever you like that has probably got you in a spot of bother and, put you in the position that you want to change. So eating whatever you like is getting people a bit confused. I think people get in this notion in their head that eating, in a similar way day to day is boring and it has to be really bland, and it means I have to be meal prepping all of this like boring, bland food every single day. And again, like I think some of that comes from the old school notion around the boring meal prep that you'd have seen bodybuilders eating, for example. They'd have been eating their boiled chicken, rice and broccoli 4, 5, 6 times a day. And that's what people then associate with any kind of structured eating plan. You mention the word meal plan to someone and almost immediately totally put off by the idea of it. But actually, if you ask that person, what do you eat each day? I will almost guarantee that they eat pretty similarly day to day. Effectively, they follow a meal plan. They just don't call it that. Their breakfast is going to be, by and large, the same type of food. Lunch, very similar. Dinner, there might be a little bit more variety in as much that they'll have different types of food, but they're going to follow the same sort of structure. So actually, if you were to say to someone, and this is something that I encourage like new clients to do, if you keep a food diary for a week and you're very honest and you're very accurate and you're very willing to be clear about exactly what it is that goes into your mouth, you'll probably be quite surprised at how similar that looks day to day. So the first thing I would say on this is, don't be scared of following more structure, of having more structure, because what that's going to do for you is it's going to make it easy, it's going to make it simple, it's going to make it repeatable, and it's going to enable you to be really consistent. So the first point I would say when it comes to making dieting as easy as possible is actually have some structure. It's so much more difficult if you don't have that. Like if you've just got this, you've got this number of calories and macros that you might be targeting, and you wake up every morning and everything is just on the fly. It's guesswork. It's, I'm going to grab this here, I'm going to grab that there. Ah, shit, it's 1 o'clock in the afternoon and I've got 10 calories left for the day. You're going to get yourself in a spot of bother. You're going to get yourself in trouble. So having structure, really helpful. And that is tip number 1. The second tip I'm going to give you is keep those meals as simple as possible, because, I know you're probably wanting to try all of these recipes and do this, that, and the other. And initially trying a few things out, absolutely do it, because trying a few of those recipes out, finding stuff that you like, that's easy to prepare, that you can make, several portions of at once, is time well spent. But once you've got those in place, again, you just want to repeat those over and over again. Doesn't mean you have to have exactly the same thing every single day, and I'll come on to that in my next point. But making your meal prep as simple as possible is going to save you loads of time. It's going to save you loads of money, because you all know the times, you find this amazing recipe online, you haven't got any of the stuff you need in the cupboard, you go and spend a small fortune on all of these herbs, spices and other ingredients that this thing needs, you never use them again, and that meal might not even taste that good. So a bit of time spent initially, just getting used to things, trying a few recipes out and finding what works for you, by all means do so. But, if you're trying to do stuff on the fly, you're trying to cook brand new recipes every single day, more than likely you're going to get in a spot of bother. So tip number 2, keep things nice and simple. Number 3 is where, this is where I think you can have a little bit more variety, and it's an approach that I use personally. It's an approach that I really encourage my clients to use. Have 2 to 3 options for each of your meals. Now, what I mean by this, if you've got, what your overall calorie and macro budget is there, like what overall calories and macros you're targeting each day, and you decide to split those in the way that suits you. So for ease of stuff, right, you have 3 meals a day and you have 2 snacks. So you've got breakfast, lunch, dinner, and you've got mid-morning snack, mid-afternoon snack, and you're aiming for 2,000 calories a day. So you might decide, actually, our evening meal is typically our biggest meal. We all sit down together, we sit around the table as a family, we have that food. So I'm going to allocate a pretty decent chunk of my daily budget towards my evening meal. So say 750 calories. Cool. So 750 calories towards that evening meal. And we're going to try and make sure that's a pretty decent amount of protein as well. So, say you're targeting somewhere around 180 to 200 grams of protein. Let's try and get a good 40, 50 grams of protein in that evening meal. You might then say lunch is the next biggest meal of your day. So you might allocate 500 calories to your lunch. Again, let's try and get 30 or 40 grams of protein in there. So, you can find different options for your lunch that suits that, 500 calories, 30, 40 grams of protein. And then breakfast, smaller meal. So at the moment, the 750 we've allocated for dinner, the 500 for lunch, 1,250 calories, and we've got 750 left. You might decide 350 is what you're going to have for breakfast, not as big as lunch, but still a decent portion of food to get you going for the day. Again, try and get 30 grams of protein in that. So overall, we're now at 1,600 calories for the day with breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Couple of snacks that might be 200 calories each. And again, trying to make them protein focused as much as possible to meet that overall protein target as well. So within each of those, so breakfast at 350 calories, lunch at 500, dinner at 750, and 2 snacks of 200 each, find 2 to 3 options. So 350 calorie breakfast, you might have like an overnight oats option. You might have something like an egg option, quick and easy to make in the morning, a yogurt bowl approach, which again, really quick and easy to make. Those could be your 3 different options, and you can just pick and choose. So work out what those foods need to be in what quantities, that overall it comes to roughly the same calories. Same goes for lunch. You might have like a chicken salad option. You might have a chicken wrap option. You might have like a tuna jacket potato option. But all of those things, again, they're about 500 calories and they're meeting roughly 30, 40 grams of protein. Evening meals, again, even if you wanted 5 different evening meals, so you had plenty of variety across the week, cool. So just find 5 different options that are around about 750 calories and 40, 50 grams of protein. If they're things that you can batch cook in advance, amazing. That again is going to make life really, really simple. Same principle again for your snacks, 200 calorie snacks, could be like 150, 250. You've essentially got 400 calories left to just allocate to your snacks as you wish. 400 calorie snacks, however you want to do it, but just having those, 2 to 3, maybe a few more options when it comes to each of those meals, everything becomes much simpler. If you're tracking those in an app, you can typically set those up as meals as well. So you haven't got to input that data every single time from new. You can just pick the meal. You can plan in advance. You can say, right, like I'm doing, and this comes on to my next point, I would plan and track in advance. So if you're logging your daily calories tonight, ready for tomorrow, you can choose which of those things you want. So tomorrow I'm going to have my egg option for breakfast, I'm going to have a chicken salad for lunch, and we're going to have spaghetti bolognese for dinner. My snacks, I'm going to take a protein shake with me, and I'm going to take some fruit and nuts. And there you have it, really, really simple. So, points 4 and 5. 4 is split your daily calories into meal and snack calorie and macros, and find 2 to 3 options for each of those. And point 5 is track everything in advance, because you're much more likely to stick to it if it's all pre-planned and ready. And you can just get all of that sorted. You can prep what you need to in advance, and it takes away all of the guesswork on the day. So those 5 things, they will take you a very, very, very long way, because ultimately the results that you're going to see are going to come from consistency. And the simpler and the more repeatable you can make things, the more consistent you're going to be with them. So I hope this has been a useful podcast, some really, really easy to apply tips in there. If you've got any questions on those, if you've got any more that you swear by as well, please do feel free to drop them in. Let me know. You can catch me on any of my socials at Ben Howard Fitness. You can email me, ben@benhowardfitness.com, or you can drop a little comment beneath wherever you happen to be watching or listening to this podcast. But have an absolutely fantastic rest of your day, rest of your week, amazing weekend, and I'll be back again really, really soon with another one.